I am very excited to have Dr. Noah St. John on the podcast. How are you doing, Noah?
I'm great, Jason. How are you?
I'm excited to have this talk today. And so I want to give you a little bit background on Noah. So he's creator of Power Habits for real estate professionals, is known worldwide as the father of Affirmations, and creator of Power Habits for real estate professionals, working with Hollywood celebrities, professional athletes, 8-figure company CEOs. Noah is famous for helping real estate pros make more in just 12 weeks than they have made in the last 12 months by winning back their lives, which is the most important part there. He's the author of 25 books and creator of Power Habits for real estate professionals, a proven system that helps real estate professionals scale faster and less stress. And we'll get to this at the end. We can learn more about everything that is Noah and all of his programs, books, and everything else about powerhabitsrealestate.com. So Noah, great to have you on the show. First question that comes to mind, why did you see this need with real estate professionals?
Well, Jason, I've been doing this for 30 years now. I've been helping entrepreneurs, chiropractors, real estate professionals, people from all walks of life to make a lot more money in a lot less time with a lot less stress. And so I realized that many of my success stories were for real estate professionals. As I mentioned to you before we got on the air, I've helped my real estate clients literally make hundreds of millions of dollars over the last 30 years. Realized, hey, might as well create a program for real estate pros, because I know there's so many real estate professionals who are working really hard out there. They're on the grindstone, but they're really not seeing the results of their labors. I really want to help with that. And that's what Power Habits for Real Estate Pros is all about.
So to make as much as you've made in 12 months and 12 weeks, right, takes a certain dedication, discipline, and also the right formula, right? Doing the right steps, right? So how have you done that? What have been the pieces that you've picked up to say, okay, here's the steps?
Well, they call me the nerdiest nerd in the industry. I'm like the Sheldon Cooper of self-help. So one of the things as a nerd that I love is Venn diagrams, those Venn diagrams with those circles that go together. And, one of my favorite Venn diagrams is one of the easiest ones. And it's, I give an example of it in my books, like Power Habits. And it's right here on page 44. And I'll hold it up for you if you can see it right there. A little hard to see, but anyway, there's a Venn diagram right there. And it's really two circles that come together in the middle. On the one hand, you have what I call inner game. And then on the other hand, you have outer game. Inner game is everything that happens between your ears that you can't see directly, but it affects everything that you do. Now, as an executive coach, a business coach, I'm also a keynote speaker. So I get to do keynote presentations and workshops for real estate teams, organizations all around the country and really around the world. And one of the things I like to ask my audience members is, what's one area of your life where your beliefs don't affect you? And here's what people do. They go, and I go, exactly. There's no place your beliefs don't affect you, right? Your beliefs affect your health, your peace of mind, your stress level. Your beliefs affect your wealth, your money, your business, your career, whether you get that promotion or not, whether you land that client or not. And of course, it affects your relationships, right? Your beliefs affect your personal life, your family life, your friends, and so forth. But here's the funny thing. You can't see a belief. You can only see the effects of a belief, right? That's why you can be doing really well in one area of your life, but maybe you're stuck or struggling in another. For example, maybe you're doing well in your business, but maybe your health is suffering, right? Or your relationships don't have the relationships that you want, or vice versa. Maybe you're feeling really good. You got positive mindset, but you're not making the money you want. It's not cookie cutter, one size fits all. Whether it's one-on-one coaching or group coaching, it's all very customized and personalized for our clients. That's your inner game. But then we also have your outer game. Now, your outer game is everything you can see directly, the marketing, the sales, all of the things that you've probably spent a lot of time and money on. But the thing that's so funny is that so many people have spent so much time, money, and effort on the outer game, but they've really ignored their inner game. And that is, in fact, what's keeping them really stuck or spinning their wheels. I'll give you a perfect example. I was speaking at a seminar in Los Angeles for 1,000 entrepreneurs. These are real estate professionals, but really business owners from all walks of life. These are high 7- and 8-figure earners. They're right, a very successful audience. So I had just finished speaking, talking about what we're talking about right now. And I was walking off the stage. A man came out of the audience and he practically grabbed me by the lapels. And he said, "Noah, you are the coach I've been looking for. I want to hire you as my coach." Now, I didn't know this man from Adam. Ironically, his name was Adam. True story. You can go on my website and watch his video for yourself. But anyway, I said, "Okay, well, what's going on?" He said, "Well, Noah, I own this company and I'm a business owner. We got to 7 figures, but we have been stuck at the same level for the past 4 years." He said, "We've been just stuck." And he said, I have thrown so much money at the problem. I've hired every marketing guru out there. He named all the marketing gurus. He said, we just can't seem to break through that income ceiling that you just talked about. And so he said, as soon as I heard you speak about inner game and outer game and head trash and everything you just said, he said, I knew you were the coach I've been looking for. So he literally decided to hire me on the spot. That's why I love working with high achievers, right? Because they make decisions quickly and firmly. They don't dilly-dally. Anyway, so I coached him and his leadership team for 18 months. And that 18 months, we were able to get his company that had been stuck at 7 figures for the previous 4 years to over 20 million in revenues in less than 18 months. That's a 600% increase. Most businesses are thrilled with a 10% increase, right? Talk about 600%. So that's what we like to call hockey stick growth, right? You kind of go along like this. Then we put my system in there and we go, whoop, you just go right through the roof. So that's how powerful these power habits really are.
How much the time is it mainly attributed to inner habits faltering and why do people have such a hard time looking inwards when they just want to deal with the outwards?
Well, yeah, you said it. I mean, and that point of that story I just shared with you is 90% of the time that I spent coaching him, we spent on his inner game. If you think about it, probably everybody listening to this program has spent a lot of time, money, and effort on the outer game stuff, right? The sales, the marketing, social media. And guess what? You need all that. You have to do all that stuff. You have to market yourself and so on, right? In order to be in business, whatever business you're in. But because no one had taken the time to show him how to master his inner game, that's what was causing him and really all of my clients to really hit that income ceiling. So whether right now you're making 5 figures, 6 figures, or 7 figures, if you really haven't mastered your inner game, it's really going to be hard, if not impossible, to scale up. So think about it this way. Many people are driving they're driving down the road of life with one foot on the brake. If you think about your goal, right? Your goal is a destination, right? So a lot of people say to me, hey, Noah, I want to go from 10K to 100K a month, right? That's my goal, right? I'm making about 10K a month. I want to go to 100K a month. Great. No problem. We've helped lots of people do that. But here's the thing, right? So that's your goal, is that 100K. But here you are, you're driving towards your goal. But unbeknownst to you, you have one foot on the brake. So how long do you think it's going to take you to reach your goal? Exactly. A long, long, long time, right? And so meanwhile, people are coming up to that, person, or maybe they're looking online and, guru number 1 says, well, you know what? You need to get a new type of gas. The gas isn't good enough. So you put expensive gas in, but you still have your foot on the brakes. You're still getting the same results. Guru number 2 comes along, says, you know what? You need a new set of tires. That's the problem. So you buy these expensive tires, but you're still doing the same habits, getting the same results. Guru number 3 comes along and they say, you know what? You should get a new car. Look at my fancy sports car. You should buy a really expensive sports car like I've got. Look how successful I am. Look how cool I am, right? On social media or whatever. You're seeing all these pictures. So you go, all right, well, so you trade in your car, you buy this new expensive Italian sports car, but guess what? You're still doing the same habits. So you're getting the same results. So what I do that's different is very simple. I say, did you know you have your foot on the brake? And they're like, no. And I go, well, yeah, if you get your foot off the brake, you actually reach your goal 10 times faster with a lot less stress, a lot less effort. And you're like, really? I go, yeah, we've done it thousands of times with my clients. I've been doing this for 30 years. We've helped our clients make hundreds of millions of dollars. And mostly we've done it just by showing people how to get their foot off the brake. And you're like, where do I sign? So that's how powerful it is when you really get your foot off the brake. And you're right. Most people aren't willing to look at that. But once you're able to look at that, boom, we get that hockey stick growth time and time again.
The biggest difference for me was actually taking the finger and stop pointing outwards and pointing inwards, right? And that's the hardest thing to do. Because most people, you want to say, well, if I just had a better website, or if I just had the right team around me. But when you find you're the common denominator, all parts, right? And you turn it around, then you can start looking inward out and say, okay, what am I doing that's not reflecting? When you look at someone who starts at a 5-figure net worth or income, however you want to put it, that goes to 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures, what are the small changes? Because I would assume you can make really small changes with people and see dynamic effects. What would be some of those small changes that come to mind?
The first thing that we do with our clients, whether it's in our 12-week breakthrough, that's our group coaching program, 12-week breakthrough, right? Make more than 12 weeks in 12 months, or it's one-on-one. One of the first places we start is, what do you want? That's a classic goal setting thing, right? We've all heard that a million times. What is it you want? The truth is, many people actually still don't know what they want, even if they've been in business for many, many years, number 1. Number 2, a lot of people are going after goals that they think they should want.
Is that the social media effect? I assume a lot of people are framing their goals around what they see from others.
That's exactly right. For example, I was working with one client and he thought he had to build this big, company with hundreds of employees and stuff like that, and realized He didn't even want that. He just wanted a lifestyle business. That's what we like to call a 7-figure lifestyle business that has that golden triangle, we call it, that has money, meaning, and freedom, right? The money, of course, is important, right? We all want more money. But what about meaning? We really want to have that meaning, that impact. Like, what are you making money for? And then freedom, right? A lot of people are chained to their business and they're working really hard for their business, but their business isn't working hard for them, right? There's a lot of miserable millionaires out there. We don't want that. We want to be a happy millionaire, right? So that money, meaning, and freedom, that's what we call the golden triangle. You're absolutely right. It's so important. And that's one of the places we start. So what do you really want? Not what you think you should want or what other people say you should want. That's a huge, huge part. Another step that you can take right now is to understand, as I call it, what is your head trash costing you? Your head trash. Now, that's what I've written 25 books about, right? You mentioned I've written 25 books. That's basically what I've written all these books about, is how to take out the trash that's in your head. So I'll give you a perfect example of this. I was talking with one of my clients. His name's Charles, and he had been reading my books. He got my books like Power Habits and other books. And I said, Charles, how much do you think your head trash is costing you right now? In other words, if we don't take out your head trash, how much do you think it's going to cost you in the next 12 months? And without batting an eye, he said $1 million. He said, no, it's easily going to cost me $1 million if I don't take out the head trash like you teach. I said, Charles, this is very common, right? I talk to people every day that tell me, no, if I don't get rid of this head trash, it's going to cost me $500,000, $1 million, $2 million or more, right? And that's just in the next 12 months. It adds up year over year, right? It's not a one-time thing. You just keep paying that cost until and unless you take out your head trash, right? So that's point number one. And I said, Charles, I tell you what, why don't you just give me 10% of that million and I will find you $1 million in the next 12 months. In other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 in return, is that a good deal? He goes, yeah, that's a good deal. So he decided to do that. He literally decided to hire me. And he invested $100K for coaching. That's, 10% of $1 million, right? Is $100K. Again, I love working with high achievers, right? He just did it quickly. He didn't dilly-dally, just let's do it. So I coached him one-on-one, just like I did with Adam. And as it turns out, I didn't find him $1 million in the next 12 months. Instead, I found him 1.8 million in just 10 months. So he gave me $1 and I gave him $18 back. Is that a good deal? No, that's a great deal. And he actually sent me an email. He said, hey, Noah, guess where I am? I'm on a 7-week vacation with my wife. He said, this is a dream I've had for the last 20 years. He said, I just bought a new RV and my dream has been to buy an RV and travel the country with my wife, but I didn't have the time or the money. And so now, because of coaching with you, now I have the time and the money. We're taking 7 weeks off and I'm making more than ever. So he literally said, thank you, Noah, for changing my life. That's how powerful this head trash can be. And frankly, what it's costing you to not take it out.
For anyone who's listening, putting $1 in and getting $2 back is a huge win, right? So 18 times is a pretty fantastic win. And you think about this, it's like, that's the hardest thing, is that it's very easy to ask the question, like, what can I gain? But you forget to ask the question, what would I lose, right? What is it costing me? And that's a very powerful question, because you can look at it and say, okay, there's always the point of inaction, right? And it's hard because when you see inaction, you don't really think of it as a lost cause, but you're getting the same thing. And the same thing is not, it's like doing the same thing, right? It's the Albert Einstein, and expecting a different result, right? It's like you're doing something, but then you choose not to do something. It's still an action, right? And so when you come here, you commit, it's very quickly you can get results when you start to have someone that can just point the needle slightly off. It's not like, I'm sure you're walking these businesses and you're just pointing out things that maybe to them become common sense, but at the moment you're like blindsided to them. As a real estate professional, when you think about this, what are some of the powerful habits that they need to install in their business to make the needed change, to make the shift, to get them the results they want?
Yeah. So after you understand what your goals really are, not what they should be. And then number two, you understand the cost of that. Then we start to install the power habit system. So there are 11 total power habits that I talk about in my, books like Power Habits and Power Habits Real Estate, which is an online course. So one of the things that you can do right now today is really understand not only the cost of your head trash, but what it actually is. Okay. So what I mean by that is, so let's go back to that goal that I talked about a moment ago, right? A very common goal. Hey, no, I want to get from 10K to 100K a month. Great. Okay. That's your goal, right? So you're at 10K, you want to get to 100K a month. Okay. So we can see right off the bat that if we were to take out your head trash, it's very likely you could 10X very, very quickly. Because remember, we're getting your foot off the brake here. What's so funny is, I'll give you another perfect example. Bill is another one of my clients, who's a real estate investor, a real estate professional. And I was speaking at a seminar in Phoenix. And he was listening to me. He came up to me afterwards. He said, "Hey, Noah, this sounds great, but I spent so many years in this business and I've tried everything and I've heard it all." And he said, "What makes this different?" And so, I could hear he was skeptical, right? He'd been burned before in the past. And I said, well, I don't know, Bill, what do you think? He was expecting like a sales pitch, right? The hard sell or whatever. I don't need to sell this. It sells itself. People either get it or they don't. They're like, well, yeah, that explains my life. So I said, I don't know, Bill, what do you think? He goes, well, what you're saying really does sound different because everybody else out there is saying push, push, push forward, get motivated and psych yourself up. And I'm not saying that's wrong. But he said, what you're saying is really different because you're saying we don't even really need to be motivated because we're already motivated. What we need is to get out of our own way. And that's to get your foot off the brake. I said, yeah, that's pretty much it. And I said, would you like to get out of your own way? And he goes, yeah. So he signed up. He decided to sign up, so he sold himself. I didn't need to do it. What happened was one of the things we installed was, what is that actual foot on the brake for you specifically? When we look at your goal, I want to go from A to B or X to Y, whatever it is. You instantly say, but I can't do it because. That's what most people are doing. See, everybody's talking about goals, but nobody talks about what happens after you set a goal. What happens right after you just said what you just said you wanted? Well, Noah, I want to go from 10K to 100K a month, but I don't think I can do it. And then I said, really? Okay, so why can't you do it? They go, well, I don't have the time. I'm too busy. I can't afford it. I don't have the money. Oh, I've tried everything before. And I'm married. I got kids. I'm busy. I got too many responsibilities, or I'm divorced. I'm a Martian. Whatever. We come up with a million excuses, don't we? Here's what's so funny. You always make yourself right. You always make yourself right. So if you're literally saying, hey, no, I want to go from 10 to 100, but I can't do it because blank. Well, guess what? You're always right. Right? Oh, I don't have the time. Great. You don't have the time. I don't have the money. Great. You don't have the money. I can't afford it. Okay. You can't afford it. You see what I mean? You always make yourself right. What I always tell my clients and my audience members is this is one area you don't want to be right. Right? You literally want to say, well, what if I'm not right about this? With Bill, that's one of the things we did, right? So we installed the system. So he went from, and he was doing okay. He was doing six figures, but literally in less than 18 months, he started doing multi-million-dollar deals. And then he started doing multi-billion-dollar deals. We're talking like major commercial real estate, hotels, and so forth. You can watch his video on my website too. We literally have thousands of case studies on my website. And why do I do that? And the reason I do that, Jason, if I just may take a moment there, is that it's one thing when the guru is talking about, hey man, here's how much money I've made. Great. You've made tons of money. Have you helped anybody else? That's always my question. Have you helped anyone else? Because if you've only helped yourself, that could be just your personality. Maybe you just got a winning personality and, you're a great salesperson. You can sell ice to an Eskimo. That's great. What about the people who don't have that personality? See, so what I do and what I have that's different and what I give my clients is a system. A system means anybody can do it. It's a framework. It's fill in the blanks. It's literally paint by numbers. That's why we get so many case studies. That's why I've helped our clients make $3 billion collectively. I couldn't possibly do that if it wasn't a system. So that's what makes us so powerful. So the first place to start is, what do you want? What is it costing you to keep this head trash? And then number 3, what is your specific head trash? What are you actually telling yourself about why you can't do the thing that you just said you wanted? So what we've found is that the average entrepreneur, real estate professional, not taking out their head trash is costing them an average of $231,340 a year. Basically $250,000 a year. Now that's to me a very low average, but that's what we found in our surveys of literally thousands of entrepreneurs over the last 30 years. Think about $250,000 on average. That is costing you just to not take out the head trash and get your foot off the brake.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you've written 25 books now. What have been some of the lessons that you've learned through your journey of bringing information to people in such a mass form?
Well, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. My dream when I was a kid was to be a writer. I always wanted to be a writer. So I really get to live my dream right now. A lot of kids, when they're growing up, they want to be an astronaut or a firefighter or baseball player or whatever. And I was like, I wanted to be a writer. I always loved words. I grew up in the library. I literally read over 300 self-help books from the time I was a little kid. And the reason I did that is because I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. I grew up in a little town called Kennebunkport, Maine, which is one of the wealthiest communities in New England. But my family was dirt poor. And I mean that literally, because we lived at the bottom of a dirt road in a drafty, unfinished house that my parents ended up losing to foreclosure when I was just 15 years old. I was painfully exposed to the gap, the chasm between the haves and the have-nots. The haves was everyone else in the community, and the have-nots was my family. So I read all these books just because I wanted a better life. I hated being poor. I didn't like it at all. And so I realized, I have to change. I have to do something. I have to take action. And that's what I've been doing for, many, many years now. And, now I get to share my philosophy, my frameworks, my systems, with my readers, my clients, all literally around the world. My books are published in 18 languages right now. It's really, really thrilling. I was actually just talking with one of my students who is a teacher in Hawaii. And, she has been reading my books for years. And, she was sharing it with her students, their high school students. And, she helps them to score better on SAT and the ACT scores, to get into better colleges. And ripple effect is something that, really we all have. When you're a business owner, you can all have that ripple effect. And it's just really, really powerful and very, very humbling.
That's amazing. And so I'm curious, you read 300 self-help books growing up, right? Was there a message that really hit you? You said, I have to share this with others, right? Because there's one part you're trying to help yourself, but then you say, you know what? Wow, I just can't hold this in. I have to help somebody else. Was there something that hit you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's why I've been writing all these books all these years, is what was missing in all those books. So they basically all said the same thing, set your goals and think positive and write it in the positive and, they all basically said the same thing. And I did all that. I tried. I really, really worked hard, but I could never get it to work. At the age of 25, I was at such a low point, even after reading all these books, that I decided to take my own life at the age of 25. I decided to commit suicide at 25. Now, at the last moment, my life was spared, but I really didn't know why at the time. I actually I decided to go back to the library and read spiritual books. Like, what is my purpose here on the earth? I didn't know how to answer that. So I read a ton of spiritual books to find my purpose. And so in April of 1997 and October 1997, that's when I had these epiphanies, when I realized exactly what was missing in all these books I'd spent all those years reading. And that really is what led to my first book, which was called Permission to Succeed, and was subsequently published by the Chicken Soup for the Soul publisher. And now I'm actually the only author in history, works published by Hay House, HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Mind Valley, Nightingale Conant, and the Chicken Soup for the Soul publisher. No other author in history has ever done that. Not Tony Robbins, not Wayne Dyer, not Deepak Chopra, just little old me. It's really been quite a journey.
You touch on this briefly, but I want to make sure we hit this home. For someone who's just starting in real estate, right? So hasn't done $1 million yet, hasn't done it in part. At what part and at any level, right, can someone jump in to use the power habits of real estate professionals?
Well, it's great if you are just getting started, because then you don't have to unlearn all these bad habits. What head trash is just there. I work with clients who are in their 50s and 60s. And I work with clients in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. So it really doesn't matter. But yeah, if you're just starting out, that's when you want to, I talked about my Venn diagram, right? The inner game and outer game. That's the best ideal time to install these power habits. Now, of course, if you've been in the game for a while, if you've been doing this for a while, like Bill was, he'd been doing it for many, many, many years. It still helps. And he literally told me, Noah, what you taught me in a weekend is more than what I've learned in over 30 years of studying self-help. And he's on video saying that. So we have a lot of stories like that. So yeah, if you're just starting out, great time to do it. If you've been doing it for a while, it's not too late. It's definitely not too late. We have clients in our 50s, 60s, 70s who are still going strong. And you just want to make sure that you get your foot off the brake and take out the head trash, whatever you do.
Yeah, Dr. Noah, this has been a tremendous podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. If there's anything that I can be a testimony for, is that my mental state, changing my mind, changed my life, right? And you think that it's the actions, but when you get back to think about your thoughts, because your thoughts are going to ultimately produce the actions. And many times you're trying to hold yourself back because you're so scared. One, you could be scared of success, but many times you're scared of failure. But that failure, it ends up in mediocrity. And with this advantage to be able to go out there and set powerful habits from the inner to the outer, right? It gives you the complete framework to be able to go out and make lasting change, right? And that's the most important word right there, is make lasting change. So thank you so much for what you're doing. For listeners that want to learn more, find more about your books, just more in general, where's the best place to connect?
Well, my main website is my name, noahstjohn.com. We have tons of resources there. And then for the power habits for real estate professionals, that's right course just for real estate professionals, powerhabitsrealestate.com. Very easy to remember, powerhabitsrealestate.com. And by the way, if you want to schedule a 15-minute business evaluation, we call it a breakthrough evaluation, you can just go to breakthroughwithnoah.com. Also easy to remember. I'm known as the Breakthrough Coach. So go to breakthroughwithnoah.com and you can book a business evaluation with me or one of my clients, and we'll look at the number one thing that's holding you back, and you're going to walk away with a 3-step plan so you can really accelerate your results and really make more in the next 12 weeks than you did in the last 12 months. All that's at breakthroughwithnoah.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. If this hits home for you, it's because the real problem isn't your funnels or your ads, it's the head trash that's keeping you stuck. That's why I've helped people just like you to add over $3 billion by eliminating the head trash that was holding them back. So if you want to be done with head trash once and for all, go to donewithheadtrash.com and sign up for my Done with Head Trash program right now, because it's time for you to be done with head trash too. And be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. I'm Dr. Noah St. John from donewithheadtrash.com, and I look forward to being a part of your success story.